Hi, I'm Senator Mark Warner. I'm sorry I can't be with you this morning, but I want to commend Chev and the governor and all of the participants at today's Higher Education Research Summit being held. This is a subject of which I have enormous interest and think is terribly important both to Virginia's future and to America's future. I remember, I know you're going to hear a little bit later today from Charlie Steger amongst others, but when I was governor, when we called together all of the leaders of our great colleges and universities and challenged them at that point to try to increase our research dollars. During my tenure as governor, we did see research dollars flowing into Virginia increase by almost 50%, from about $550 million to around $900 million. And I know since that time those numbers have continued to increase. But I recognize that in an ever competitive world, we have to always find ways to do better. So I've got 3 or 4 points I'd like to make to you. Hopefully it will spur some discussion at the sessions during the day. First and foremost, as many of you I've had a chance to visit with over the last 5.5 years when I've been senator, recognize that now more than ever, it's important for us to continue the federal commitment to research, whether that's through NIH or DOD, National Science Foundation, or other activities that fund the basic research. In so many areas, we are close to actually realizing what has been investments that have been made for decades. That's the good news. The bad news is that starting in October of 2015, the federal government, in terms of being a funding partner, is going to come under enormous stress again. The challenges around sequestration, the dramatic cuts in research dollars, all start rushing back in October of 2015. So my first appeal, as always, while today is about higher education research in Virginia, we also need you to continue to stay on me and all of our federal elected officials to make sure that we put together that grand bargain deal, that grand budget that takes on entitlement reform and tax reform. Democrats giving on entitlements, Republicans giving on taxes, or we will see the kind of draconian cuts that we saw about a year ago when we shut down even the federal government come roaring back in even greater fury if sequestration is allowed to hit again. What that will do to so much basic research, not only in Virginia, but across the country, will be devastating. Second item that I wanted to raise is the continuing focus and need for us to look at commercialization. One of the issues that I think we've made progress on in Virginia, but there's still progress that needs to be made, is how we move from basic research into translational research that actually results in commercialization. Progress has been made at almost every university in the Commonwealth in terms of their IP departments, trying to make sure that faculty and other members can take that great idea and maintain a piece of that idea while they stay inside the university setting in terms of taking ideas to market. But this is an area where we always have to stay focused and recognize that other states, particularly California and even to a certain degree Maryland, have done a better job on their intellectual property commercialization efforts. And in Virginia, we need to stay focused on this item. Third, and again, this is an area where I want to particularly give a thanks to to President Steger, former President Steger, and that is a new model that we've created in Virginia, actually modeled after something in Texas that I was proud to start, called VASM, where we bring together all of the members of the national academies who are in Virginia in a collaborative, at least once a year effort. We had our first session in Washington a number of months ago. I think it was a positive session. We've learned from that session that says it was great to get members of the national academies that were from our universities and from wonderful private sector partners like Northrop Grumman, but also and NASA Langley, and also Janelia Farms. But VASM now is going to expand its reach and include top flight researchers that may not yet be members of our National Academy, but it should, and my hope, become the focal point where great science and great scientists across the Commonwealth are able to come together in a collaborative fashion, not with a lot of policymakers, but just truly as scientists, and share what are some of the most cutting edge opportunities that are going on across the Commonwealth. Finally, I want to say from an outside standpoint, now as a federal U.S. Senator, as somebody who spent longer time as a venture capitalist than I have as an elected official, that I see great opportunities in the Commonwealth where we can become national and international leaders in terms of where the next great inventions may come. And I'd like to share, at least for your discussion today, some of those areas. First is composites. Over the last few years, I've been working with NASA and have actually been able to secure out of the President's budget $25 million to leverage the great work that's done at NASA Langley with some of the other work that's done all across the Commonwealth in terms of how we can become the next center for advanced composites. This has applications obviously in aerospace, but in cars and in a variety of other topics as well. Second, the question of big data. We are the beneficiaries of being adjacent to the federal government. And as we pass legislation like my recent Data Act, which adds additional transparency to all federal spending, more and more often we're going to see, as we've seen in healthcare and now we move into other fields, pressure on government and other large entities to share with the public the enormous amounts of data that are out there. Obviously, there are privacy concerns in this issue, but the various IT and other applications around big data is an area where I hope Virginia could be a leader. Third is personalized medicine and genomics. Obviously, our friends in Maryland have got some of these assets, but we've seen a tremendous growth of life sciences in Northern Virginia, at University of Virginia, and down around Blacksburg. Personalized medicine and the enormous research done around the mapping of the human genome is an area that, in particular, we are on the cusp of, I think, great discoveries. I think it's important that we in Virginia find areas where we can carve out a area of expertise where Virginia can be a leader. And finally, two other areas that I think need attention. One is cybersecurity. Obviously, having much of the intelligence community located in Virginia, a lot of our great scientists done in collaboration with the intelligence community, as we see some of the commercial risks taking place with the recent Target data breach. Cybersecurity is one of the areas, even in tight budget times, they're going to see additional research dollars and additional funds flow into. We in Virginia ought to make sure that we put a stake in the ground and become a national and international leader in that field. And finally, an area that I think has great potential, and I know may cause, again, some consternation at the conference, but that is the opportunity around unmanned aerial systems. Virginia was one of the 6 states that got FAA designation to be a test ground for unmanned aerial systems. I know when you mention that, many people immediately think drones and think about military operations, or they think about privacy issues. Clearly, these are debates, particularly around privacy, that need to be fully litigated in public forums and in Congress and at the state legislature as well. But mark my words, as somebody who saw the potential in wireless communications back in the early 80s, I think we are looking at the potential, the same kind of enormous potential in unmanned aerial systems, not just for military purposes, but for agriculture, for policing purposes, for delivery. We've already had interest, for example, from Amazon and other companies about how they might be able to use unmanned aerial systems for delivery of packages and other goods. This is an area that's going to have an explosive growth, and why not in Virginia? With a number of companies that we've got in aerospace, with, again, NASA Langley, with some of the research that's being done at both Virginia Tech and at ODU, why not let Virginia be a place where these systems are designed and built? So I'm looking forward to getting reports back from this conference. I know Peter Blake and all of the folks at Chev, these are areas of great interest to all the participants. I think in the 21st century, we've got to make sure that the progress we've made in Virginia in terms of research, that we stay focused on that. I commit as a federal partner to make sure that we try to keep those federal dollars coming. We need to see that state collaboration and cooperation as well. Have a great conference, and I'm looking forward to getting and hearing the results. Thanks so much.